I built a small but bustling stir-fry shop, carrying on my family's ancestral wok-tossing skills. The street was always alive with the sounds of sizzling food, laughter, and chatter. But one day, everything changed. A sleek black Maybach rolled slowly down the street and stopped right outside my shop. Out stepped the woman I'd been dating for 4 years, Victoria Reed. She clutched the latest Chanel handbag like it was a crown jewel. Looking down her nose at me, she said coldly, "Sincere Clark, let's break up." The spatula froze in my hand. My chest tightened. Why? Weren't we supposed to get married at the end of the year? I asked, my voice breaking with disbelief. Victoria sneered. "Do you know how much this bag costs? You could flip food in that wok until you reach the heavens, and you still wouldn't afford it in a year." And just like that, she turned on her skyscraper heels and walked away, never once glancing back. It hit me then. After 4 years, I simply wasn't good enough for her. 2 months later, at the Chef's Championship, I performed my signature move, the Soaring Dragon's glance, and made it into a Michelin star restaurant. Standing before a sea of reporters, I smiled and said, "I have to thank my ex-girlfriend for refusing to marry me. It was because of her that I proved a point. A man who flips woks can reach the heavens. He can even flip his way into a Michelin star." "Boss, 1 order of stir-fried beef noodles coming right up. That'll be 15. I tossed the beef and noodles in the wok with practiced skill, each flip sending sparks of oil into the air. Just before plating, I performed a sharp, clean flip, every last strand landing perfectly in the bowl. But before I could serve, a familiar black Maybach pulled up outside. My stomach sank. The door opened, and Victoria Reed stepped out. She was holding yet another brand new Chanel handbag. That very bag. I had promised her I'd save up and buy it before the new year. Yet now she already had it. A knot of dread tightened in my chest. She strutted toward me, tilting her head back with superiority. Pinching her nose, she sneered, "Sincere Clark, let's break up." The spatula slipped from my hand, clattering onto the floor. My voice trembled. Why? Weren't we supposed to get married at the end of the year? Her eyes cut through me with disdain. "Do you know how much this bag costs? You could flip food in that wok until you reach the heavens and still wouldn't afford it in a year. Sincere, you can't give me what I want. We're done." She spun on her heels. Panic surged through me. Wiping my greasy hands on my apron, I reached out and grabbed her arm. "Victoria, everyone knows we're getting married. Besides, I've almost saved up enough to buy you that bag by the end of the year." She yanked her arm away, looking at me as though I were something dirty. "Are you deaf? Let me say it again so you understand. I'm breaking up with you." Her words struck me like thunder. I stood frozen as she walked back to the Maybach. By the time I rushed outside, she was already in the passenger seat, staring straight ahead, refusing to look at me. I pounded on the window. Nothing. The man in the driver's seat smirked, revved the engine, and sped off. Dirty water splashed up from the street, drenching me from head to toe. The stink filled my nose as I stood there numb. My girlfriend of 4 years was gone. The wedding photos we'd taken just a month ago still hung in our new apartment. The reception venue had already been booked, the invitations already sent. Only a week ago, she'd sat right here in my shop eating my beef noodles, smiling sweetly. "Sincere, this is so delicious. I want to eat this for the rest of my life." But all of it had shattered over a handbag. I finally learned the truth when I saw a post from Jessica Jones, her best friend. The man driving the Maybach was Victoria's ex-boyfriend. It wasn't just money. She had gone back to him. I closed the shop early that night and dragged myself home, spirit broken. The moment I opened the door, I was greeted by a sea of festive red wedding decorations. That joyful color now stabbed at my eyes like knives. In the bedroom, our wedding photo hung proudly above the bed. I remembered the happiness on my face that day. Now despair consumed me in equal measure. I lay on the bed, scrolling through photos of us on my phone. By accident, I tapped her profile. She had just posted a picture of a home-cooked meal. The caption read, 4 dishes and a soup. Not bad for my first time cooking. In the 4 years we were together, Victoria had never once stepped into the kitchen. I had cooked every meal for her. And yet, for her ex-boyfriend, she had cooked for the very first time. I wasn't worthy. I scrolled higher. Every photo of us was gone. On the very day of our breakup, she had deleted every trace of our 4 years together. She hadn't even hesitated. I remembered all I had done for her. No detail was too small. I memorized her cycle, making brown sugar tea the day before to ease her pain. Every night, I massaged her feet and brought her warm milk because she said she was a light sleeper. One winter, she casually mentioned wanting to see a giant snowman. I snuck out in the freezing night to build one, frostbite be damned, just to see her smile. And yet it had all been meaningless. A knock at the door pulled me from my thoughts. When I opened it, my heart nearly stopped. Victoria stood there. And behind her, Ethan Hayes, the man from the Maybach. "Sincere, I'm here to pick up my things," she said flatly, brushing past me as if I didn't exist. Ethan tried to step inside, but I blocked the doorway. My voice turned cold. "You're not welcome here." Victoria whipped around, shoving me aside. "What's your problem? Is your apartment made of gold? Why can't he come in?" She pulled Ethan inside, sat him down on my sofa, and then had the audacity to order me to make tea. Tea. In my own home. For the man who had stolen her back. Rage burned inside me. I grabbed Ethan by the arm, yanked him up, and shoved him toward the door. Before I could push him out, Victoria slapped me hard across the face. "Are you insane? Can't you even let him sit down?" Ethan gave me a smug, provocative look before whining to her. "You're not going to treat me this way, are you? You wouldn't hit me, would you?" Her anger vanished instantly. She softened, turning to him with tender eyes. "Of course not, hubby. I'm always gentle with you." Right there, in my home, she leaned in and kissed him on the cheek. That was it. I snapped. I shoved them both out of the apartment and slammed the door in their faces. From outside, her voice rang through. "Sincere, you deserve to be dumped. I don't want any of this junk anyway. It's not worth a dime." Ethan's voice followed. "Don't worry, baby. I'll buy you whatever you want. I'll give you things 100 times better than that loser ever could." I pressed my palms over my ears and staggered back into the bedroom. My heart dropped further when I saw the mess. The place was ransacked. Clothes thrown everywhere. Even our wedding photo had been smashed. Glass shattered across the floor. It hit me then. I had never truly known Victoria Reed. 4 years, and not once had she loved me. These broken pieces were proof enough. The next day, after a full night of wallowing, I finally came to my senses. Life had to go on. I pulled on fresh clothes, hopped on my scooter, and rode back to my little shop. I started prepping the ingredients, ready to open for business. The moment I opened my shop, a familiar face walked in, a regular. But not just any customer. She was a freeloader, someone I had always let eat for free only because she was Victoria's best friend. But now there was no reason to continue that charity. 2 orders of stir-fried beef noodles. "That'll be 30, I said flatly. Jessica Jones wrinkled her nose. "Come on, Sincere. Don't be so cheap. You never used to charge me." I met her gaze, my tone icy. "Victoria and I are broken up. From now on, you pay for your food." She let out a sharp snort. "No wonder Victoria dumped you. Look at you being so stingy." It's a good thing I told her Ethan was back. If she had missed him, her life would have been ruined by you. Her words hit like daggers, but I stayed silent. She wasn't done. "Oh, there's something else you don't know. Victoria's pregnant. And it's Ethan's." My hand slipped. The knife sliced deep into my finger. Blood gushed out. Ignoring the stinging pain, I spun toward Jessica, roaring. "What did you say?" She smirked. "Victoria's been pregnant for a while. The baby isn't yours. Why else do you think she dumped you?" I clutched a rag, pressing it hard against the wound. But it wasn't the pain in my hand that consumed me. It was the word that echoed in my mind. Pregnant. Victoria and I had always been careful. Recently she had seemed distant, but I chalked it up to pre-wedding nerves. I never suspected this. She had been cheating all along. And yet, every day, she played the part of the perfect, loving fiancée. What an actress. Honestly, it was a shame she wasn't in movies. Meanwhile, I was the fool, wearing a green hat without even knowing it. A man who thought only about how to make her happy, blind to her betrayal. Satisfied with the devastation on my face, Jessica strutted out. As she left, she tossed one last taunt over her shoulder. Ethan's family owns a restaurant. A real one. Who would even look twice at this dump of yours? Ever heard of a Michelin star restaurant? Probably not, you country bumpkin. Her cruel words barely registered. My hands shook as I picked up my phone. I needed the truth. The line connected. Hello, Victoria. Are you pregnant with Ethan's child? My voice cracked. Her lazy drawl came through the receiver. How did you know? If I had held onto even the tiniest shred of hope that Jessica was lying. Hearing Victoria admit it herself shattered me completely. My hand trembled around the phone. Victoria, how could you do this to me? Do you have any decency at all? Her voice turned sharp, like a whip. You should be grateful I broke up with you instead of making you the happy father-to-be. Or what, sincere? Do you actually enjoy the idea of raising another man's child? With that, she hung up. The phone slipped from my grasp. Blood from my finger trailed down my hand, but my heart was so numb I couldn't even feel it. Victoria had used my love again and again, only to stab me deeper each time. 4 years of devotion had been nothing but a joke. And yet, I had no idea she could sink even lower. The next morning, I carried fresh vegetables to my shop, only to stop dead in my tracks. Spray-painted across the roll-up door in glaring red letters were the words, "Goddamn loser, noodles suck." I grabbed a bucket, filled it with water, and scrubbed furiously with a brush. But the paint wouldn't budge. It was waterproof. My arms ached from scrubbing, but the words still screamed back at me. To keep more people from seeing it and ruining my business, I rolled the door up and got to work. I had just finished chopping onions, my eyes stinging, when I heard footsteps at the entrance. "Welcome," I called automatically. "What can I get for you?" A mocking laugh echoed through the shop. "Sincere, you really are a goddamn loser. Crying while you chop vegetables just because I dumped you." Victoria. Beside her stood Ethan. He scanned the shop with disdain and shook his head. "This is it. This dump? The bathroom in my family's restaurant is bigger than this." With exaggerated care, he pulled out a wad of tissues, wiped down a stool, then layered 10 more tissues before sitting. "Stir-fried beef noodles," he said smugly. "I hear you're pretty good. Make me a plate. If it's decent, I might even let you wash dishes at my restaurant. $3,000 a month sound good." Their arrogance made my blood boil. "Get out. Both of you. Before I throw you out." Ethan burst into laughter as if I had told a joke. "You. Throw me out. Don't make me laugh. I'll give you one more chance. Are you cooking or not?" I locked eyes with him. My voice was steady. "I'm not." "Fine," he sneered. "You asked for it." He clapped his hands. Immediately, 5 or 6 men in black suits stormed inside. They smashed everything in sight. The refrigerator glass, the display case, vegetables scattered across the floor. One ripped the sign down from the wall. My best gourmet snack plaque crashed to the ground and split in two. I lunged to grab the pieces, but 2 men pinned me down. They stomped the plaque to splinters under their boots. I struggled, reaching for Ethan's shoe, but a hard kick buckled my knee. Pain shot through me as I collapsed, forced to kneel before him. Ethan grabbed my chin, tilting my head up. He smirked and patted my cheek. "You want to fight me? You're still too green. I can smash this dump whenever I want. What are you going to do about it?" Victoria giggled, clinging to his arm. "Hubby, you're so handsome." She turned to me, her eyes full of contempt. Sincere, knowing you for 4 years is the biggest stain of my life. Thank God I left you, you loser. Ethan stood, brushing imaginary dust from his clothes. He wrapped an arm around Victoria's waist and strode toward the door. At the entrance, he paused. You'll never set foot in a Michelin star restaurant in your life. A country bumpkin like you should just buy a tricycle and set up a street stall. Oh, and remember to pedal fast, or the city inspectors might catch you. Their laughter trailed out the door as the men in black vanished. I stared at the wreckage, fists trembling. Victoria hadn't even left me a shred of dignity. That was it. From this day forward, we were finished. All debts settled. I slammed my fist into the ground. A Michelin star restaurant, huh? Fine. I'll get into one, and I'll show you both. Back home, I went to storage and pulled out a wok ladle wrapped in cloth. It had belonged to my father, though I had never met him. My mother had told me it was a gift, passed down. Despite the years, it hadn't rusted a bit. I polished it carefully. For the next few days, I locked myself in, training harder than I ever had before. And something strange happened. When I used that ladle, my movements became smoother, more natural. As if it had been made just for me. From stir-frying to plating, every motion flowed like water. But skill alone wasn't enough. I needed art. I wanted to leave every judge stunned by my cooking. Through grueling practice, I perfected a legendary move, the Soaring Dragon's glance. It was time for its comeback. Full of confidence, I signed up for the Chef's Championship. Round after round, I blazed through, the dark horse of the competition. Finally, the day of the finals arrived. The crowd buzzed with anticipation. On one side stood last year's champion, defending his title. On the other, me, the unknown challenger. Cameras turned to focus on me. I reached into my bag, pulled out the ladle, and ran my hand across its smooth handle. "Old friend," I whispered. "We're going all in this time." I had to win. After prepping my ingredients, I planted my feet firmly. It was time to prove myself. Everything went into the wok as I began to stir-fry with my special ladle. With every toss, the wok spun gracefully in my hands, moving as if it were part of me. I could feel the rhythm of the music echoing through the arena, my timing perfectly in sync with each beat. The audience was spellbound, so much so that they forgot this was supposed to be a cooking competition, not a performance. But I wasn't done yet. The best part was still to come. Controlling the heat with precision, I cooked the food until it was about 80% done. Then, with one fluid motion, I sent everything soaring high into the air. Gasps filled the room. Even the judges held their breath, eyes wide. Madness, that's what they were thinking. Surely, the food would come crashing down, splattering across the floor. But just before disaster struck, I moved. I spun the ladle with perfect control, catching every single piece of food mid-air and guiding it seamlessly back into the wok. "The Soaring Dragon!" I shouted, the words bursting from me like fire. Then, with one final motion, I flipped the food from the ladle onto a plate, the noodles forming a perfect mound. Before the judges sat a stunning dish of stir-fried beef noodles. For a heartbeat, the arena was silent. And then, thunderous applause. The audience leapt to their feet, cheering wildly. The judges took their first bites, and when they raised their approval signs, the entire hall erupted again. That day, I became the champion. My daring move, the Soaring Dragon's glance, became my signature. From that moment on, every Michelin-starred restaurant wanted me. Reporters swarmed around, shoving microphones in my face. "Chef Clark, who do you want to thank the most right now?" one asked. I smiled into the camera. "I have to thank my ex-girlfriend for refusing to marry me. It's because of her that I was able to prove a point. A man who can flip a wok can reach the heavens, and even flip his way into a Michelin star." After the competition, my popularity skyrocketed. Not only did Michelin-starred restaurants send me offers, but culinary associations across the country wanted me on their teams. To my surprise, Ethan's father, Walter Morgan, came to me personally. He wanted me to join his family's restaurant. At first, I was ready to refuse. But then he named an astronomical salary and made me a bold promise. If I agreed, the entire restaurant would be mine to command. I was intrigued. With my ladle in hand, I went. I sat in his office, legs crossed, sipping the tea his secretary had served when a commotion broke out outside. Suddenly, the door burst open. Ethan stormed in, his face twisted with hostility. "Who let you in here? Get out!" he barked. I didn't move. I stayed seated calmly on the sofa. His anger flared red. He raised his hand, ready to strike me. But just before his palm connected, a commanding voice boomed through the room. "Stop! Who dares to hit my son?" The words froze us both. I was stunned. Ethan, too, stopped cold. He rushed to his father's side, stammering nervously. "Dad, you must have seen wrong. I was about to hit him, not the other way around." "Insolent child. This is your brother," Walter snapped, shoving Ethan aside. Then, turning to me, his stern expression melted into a smile. "Son, can I see that ladle?" I handed it to him. His hands trembled as he stroked the handle, his eyes growing red. "This is it," he whispered. "The ladle. When I went abroad to study culinary arts, I left it with your mother. You were still in her womb back then. I promised her I'd return after finishing my studies. But later, I lost all contact. Thank heavens I've found you at last." Then he pulled me into a tight embrace. I felt the wetness of his tears on my shoulder. Before I could even react, he dropped a bombshell. "Son, from now on, this Michelin star restaurant is yours. Think of it as my way of making up for all the lost years. What do you say?" I was still reeling when Ethan exploded. "Dad, have you lost your mind? How can you give the restaurant to this loser? What about me?" Walter's gaze was icy. "I've spent years trying to train you, and still, you amount to nothing. In your hands, this restaurant would go bankrupt within a year. You'll keep receiving your monthly allowance. If you're careful, it will be enough." At that moment, Victoria, who had been eavesdropping outside, rushed into the room, her face pale. "Ethan, what about our wedding? And the baby? How are we supposed to live?" Walter's eyes narrowed dangerously. His tone was murderous. "So you're the woman who has caused this strife between my two sons." He advanced toward her, his presence radiating raw authority. Without hesitation, he slapped her across the face. "Get out," he barked coldly. "Disappear from Southernthorland, and get rid of the bastard child you're carrying. If I find out you've secretly given birth to it, I can't guarantee you'll live to see another sunrise." Victoria trembled, her whole body shaking. She turned toward me, desperate, her last shred of hope. She fell to her knees, clutching my pant leg, her forehead banging against the floor. "I was wrong," she sobbed. "Sincere, please, ask your father to spare me." To prove her sincerity, she slammed her forehead again and again until blood stained the floor. But my heart was hardened. I pulled my leg away and turned my back on her. The guards dragged her away. Her desperate cries echoed down the hall. "Sincere, I was wrong. Please forgive me. I was really wrong." If she had shown me even a shred of mercy back then, she would not have ended up like this. She had brought it upon herself. I took my ladle and went home. Suddenly, having a father was something I needed to discuss with my mother. I had just finished packing when I opened the door and found Walter Morgan standing there. He looked awkward, but the moment he saw me, his face lit up with a smile. "Son, where are you going?" he asked. "Back to my hometown," I answered politely. Excitement flickered in his eyes. "Can I come with you?" His expression was so hopeful that I couldn't bring myself to refuse. We rode the train in silence. When we arrived, he followed me closely, insisting on carrying my suitcase. "Let me help you," he said. At last, the taxi stopped in front of my house. Walter's grip on the suitcase tightened as he took deep breaths. I knocked on the door. "Mom, I'm home." Helen Clark opened the door, her face glowing with happiness, until her eyes landed on the man behind me. Her expression turned pale. Walter's own eyes filled with tears. His lips trembled. "Helen," he whispered. My mother froze. Then tears streamed down her cheeks before she quickly wiped them away. Snapping back to herself, she pulled me inside and slammed the door, locking him outside. I quietly retreated to my room, giving them space. From outside, his voice pleaded, desperate. "Helen, open the door. Please, I need to talk to you." At last, she opened it. I brought them both hot tea and withdrew again. Walter held the cup, his hands rubbing it over and over. "Helen, I searched for you everywhere after I returned to the country. But I couldn't find you. Where did you go?" Her voice was cold. "What year did you return?" 1999. "Is that so? Because the year after you came back, Linda Hayes came to me. She told me you two were married, that I should leave you alone. Do you know?" Sincere was already 2 years old then. Walter froze, shocked. "Is that true?" "Why would I lie?" my mother cried. "I remember clearly. Linda told me she was already pregnant, that you were happy together, and I should never disturb you again." Walter's face twisted with torment. "But I didn't marry her until 6 months later. Does that mean that child isn't mine?" His voice trailed off as realization dawned. No wonder. The premature baby was the size of a full-term child. Fury overtook him. With a roar, he smashed the cup on the floor. "Linda Hayes. How dare she lie to me? She kept us apart all these years. Helen, you and our son suffered because of her deceit. Wait for me. I'll sort this mess out. Then I'll bring you both home with the honor you deserve." That very night, Walter boarded a train back to Sutherland. His first stop was the hospital, where he ordered a paternity test for Ethan. The results were clear. Ethan was not his son. When my father learned the truth, that Ethan was not his biological son, he nearly broke down. His real son had suffered for years, while he had spent his life raising another man's child. The shock hollowed him out. He went home immediately and filed for divorce from Ethan's mother, Linda Hayes. Every asset in his name he reclaimed. Ethan and his mother had relied completely on him, and without his support, their lives quickly descended into misery. Ethan clung to my father's leg, sobbing, "Dad, I'm your son. How can you abandon me?" My father's response was merciless. He kicked Ethan square in the chest. "Get off me. Don't call me Dad. I'm not your father, and I don't have a foolish son like you. I always wondered why you had no talent for cooking. After all those years of training, you were still useless. And now I know why, you're not even mine. Worthless. Get out of Sutherland, or every time I see you, I'll beat you." Ethan clutched his leg desperately, pleading through tears. But the security guards dragged him away. His cries echoed through the house. "Dad, Dad, how am I supposed to live without you?" The once proud heir to a Michelin-starred empire had fallen from grace in an instant. So, Ethan, doesn't feel so good, does it? In the end, evil begets evil. What goes around comes around. The Morgan Michelin star restaurant was reborn. The old Morgan name above the entrance was taken down, replaced with a shining new sign, Clark's. On the day of the grand reopening, my mother and I were dressed in our finest. The three of us, my father, my mother, and me, stood proudly at the entrance for the ribbon-cutting ceremony. My mother, elegant in her dress, took the center, with my father and me at her sides. When the scissors sliced through the red ribbon, the crowd erupted in applause. But celebration turned to chaos in an instant. A man in a mask and baseball cap came charging at us, knife in hand, aimed straight for me. Instinct took over. I kicked him hard in the stomach. The knife flew from his grip, clattering across the pavement. My father stepped forward and drove another kick into his chest. Security pounced, pinning him to the ground. I yanked the mask off. It was Ethan. His face twisted with hatred as he spat. "It's all your fault. If it weren't for you, all of this would be mine. I'll kill you, Sincere. I'll kill you." My father remained calm. "Call the police." When they arrived, Ethan was cuffed and dragged away, still screaming. Then, as if madness ran in the family, another figure burst out of the crowd. Linda Hayes. She snatched the ceremonial scissors and lunged toward my mother, blind to the police around her. But before she reached Helen, she was tackled and restrained. Still, she screamed at my mother with venomous rage. "Helen Clark, you ruined me and my son. You'll die a miserable death." Mother and son, both truly pathetic. Twisted in their logic. They were the ones who had stolen our family's happiness, keeping us apart for years. They had lived off my father's hard work, enjoyed the fruits of his labor. And now, when their cash cow was taken away, they sought revenge? Laughable. Justice was swift. Ethan was sentenced to prison for attempted murder. Linda, caught red-handed, was also sent to prison. The incident barely left a scratch on our restaurant's reputation. With the Soaring Dragon's glance as the star attraction, success was inevitable. From the day we installed a massive screen outside the restaurant playing footage of my championship victory around the clock, business exploded. Reservations became mandatory, and we were fully booked for an entire month in advance. The one dish every customer demanded? My specialty, stir-fried beef noodles, made with my signature Soaring Dragon's glance. The waiting line, if you stretched it out, could probably reach all the way to France. But a true chef never rests on a single dish. Great chefs innovate. They constantly create new recipes to stay ahead. My father and I worked tirelessly together, and thanks to our efforts, critics hailed our restaurant as a must-visit destination. Like father, like son, we had a natural rhythm, a shared language when it came to food. Our instincts and ideas matched seamlessly. My father often patted me on the shoulder, pride shining in his eyes. "Now this," he said, "this is Walter Morgan's son. He inherited all my best talents." One evening, I asked him casually, "Dad, should I change my name from Sincere Clark to Sincere Morgan?" He chuckled and shook his head. "No need. What's wrong with having your mother's last name? She raised you alone all these years. It wasn't easy. What's more, she never sought another man to lean on. That's something extraordinary. I owe her for the rest of my life. But from now on, I'll do everything I can to make it up to her." I noticed my mother peeking from behind the door, holding a fresh cup of tea for my father. Grinning, I called out, "Mom, stop eavesdropping. Come on out." Shyly, she entered and handed him the tea. My father wrapped an arm around her, his voice thick with affection. "Helen, from now on, we'll live a good life together. You've suffered enough for too long." I quietly slipped out, closing the door behind me to give them space. True to his word, my father acted immediately. The very next day, he purchased 2 tickets to the Maldives. With luggage in hand, he waved me goodbye. "Son, the restaurant is all yours. Your mother and I are going to enjoy a quiet life." Watching the blissful smile on my mother's face, my heart finally felt at peace. Her suffering had ended at last. "Mom," I whispered silently, "may the rest of your days be filled with happiness." I saw them off at the airport and drove home, my mind already buzzing with ideas for new dishes. So distracted was I that I didn't notice the woman darting out in front of my car. I slammed the brakes just in time, but she collapsed onto the ground anyway, wailing in pain. I killed the engine, stepped out, and approached her. When I saw her face, I froze. Victoria. She was disheveled, lying on the pavement, moaning dramatically. "Help! Help! A car hit me. Someone's been killed." Her performance was almost impressive. After all this time, her acting skills hadn't dulled one bit. With such theatrics, she could have at least made a living as an extra. And yet, here she was, reduced to staging accidents for cash. I looked down at her with disdain. "I didn't even touch you, Victoria." The moment her name left my lips, she jerked upright. She shoved her messy hair from her face, only to hurriedly cover herself again when she realized who I was. Like hiding behind a curtain of hair could conceal her shame. I said nothing more. She scrambled to her feet, seizing the chance to flee. She ran wildly, hair still covering her eyes, desperate to vanish before I could see more of her humiliation. But blinded by her own panic, She didn't notice the truck barreling down the road. She turned the corner and froze. Too late. The truck couldn't stop in time. The impact was brutal. Her body was hurled into the air like a rag doll, tracing a helpless arc before crashing back onto the pavement. Rain began to fall, mixing with the blood spreading across the ground. Pedestrians gasped, some covering their eyes in horror. I never imagined that our reunion would be her final goodbye. Victoria, did you ever even for a moment feel regret? The woman I had once cherished with all my heart had ended up like this. In the end, it was all her own doing. Just desserts. I called an ambulance, then returned to my car. Life, I thought, is like a lotus petal in the vast universe. Fragile, fleeting, destined to one day wither and close.